Hi everybody, it is Manucha from Moms and Crafters, and today I'm going to show you how to craft these two adorable felt baskets. You can make these big, you can make these small, and I'm showing you two versions, starting with a no-sew version and then a sewing version. These have two unique templates that are downloadable at momsandcrafters.com. And they're just perfect for small organization projects, or you can scale it up for larger organization projects. I do have a blog post that that teaches you how to scale this up as well. And it's really fun to craft, and I actually use it for small sewing clips and stuff like that in my craft room. But you could also use it for Purim, Mishloach Manot baskets, or for Easter, if that's what you celebrate. And I hope you enjoy. So start by cutting out your template. Now, my favorite way to do it is to pin it to the felt and then just cut. It just requires at least prep. Obviously you could cut out the template first and then trace it and all that. But this is how I like to do it. And so you're going to cut that out using good fabric scissors. The felt that you're using really depends on the size of your basket. If it's smaller, you want something thinner. If you're sewing it for the sewing version, you want something thinner. So go ahead and cut that out. Remove the pins. Mine, I think I used like a medium, like stiff felt for this, and it worked wonderfully. So we're removing the pins, and we are definitely putting them somewhere safe and not just letting them float around the craft room. Now, the way that this is going to work is you're going to be folding up those two little flaps on each side. You could go ahead and like fold them to secure a crease. And then those two rounded edges are going to close around them. So this is for the no-sew version. So do that on both sides, close that crease. And now you're going to be marking the points for your holes. So I did actually first crease those two other sides, right up there just so that it sits better, but you don't really have to do it. It can just curve if you'd like. And you can see I didn't cut my template perfectly. You can spend more time on it and you can do that. Now you're going to see where the two sides meet up, and you're going to mark that for holes, and you're going to create the holes. It's better to use a punch, but I just didn't have patience by the time I was crafting this, and so I made messy holes using just a small scissor, and honestly it came out fine. Now cut two little pieces of faux leather cording or actual leather cording, and you're going to thread them first on the bottom one and then through the top one. So first on the one that's closer to the flap and then on the one that's outside the flap, and then you're just going to knot them together in a simple overhand knot. Now, if you didn't quite catch that, don't worry. I'm going to show you the process of the other side as well. So you have your two holes that line up on the two sides that go behind the flap, right? And then you're going to be inserting the elastic first through the bottom one. You see I already did it on the bottom one, and then you're going to thread it through the top one and join them together to make an overhead knot. Mistake that I made was cutting them too short. Do not cut them too short. Leave a little bit of generous space. Now on these templates, on the sewing one, I do offer template for handles as well. However, for this one, I did not. They're interchangeable. You can use the, now you can see don't knot them too tight like I did. But anyway, they're interchangeable. And I just used a piece of lace for this one. You can use a piece of lace for the other one as well. I used my Shore Bonder glue pen. They actually sent me one for free to try out, so I tried it on this project. I definitely like it as a very compact storage solution. I wish it was cordless, but other than that, I love it, and it worked out marvelously for this project. It's very fine pointed, so obviously you can sew this on or you can connect it other ways, but I did like the idea of a very fine pointed glue pen to connect this. And there you go, your basket is complete. It is surprisingly sturdy, and the best part is that when it's not in use, it's collapsible. You can simply unknot the sides, collapse it, and store it. Isn't it wonderful when you need to store your storage? But anyway, in case you're not using it as storage, it's collapsible. And it's a fun little basket to make, and really anyone can make it. So go ahead to the blog and download the template. Now, before you run away, let me show you how to make the sewing version. Now, fear not, this is a super simple sewing project, and you don't need to sew it. You can actually hand sew it, and you can even hot glue it. It's just connected in a way that essentially requires seams and connecting two sides together in a sewing type of fashion. So again, we're cutting out our template using the same method of pinning it to the back and then cutting it out. Now this one's a lot easier because you can see it's simply a square with equal sides cut out. So if you want to scale this up, go ahead. You can see how my template is formatted and make this in huge. I just simply made it the maximum size that you could print on a page. When you're done, again, pull out your pins, put them somewhere safe, not stupid like I did, and you have your template cut out. Now, I did sew the base. You don't have to sew the base. You can technically just sew the sides, but it comes out so much nicer, and it sits in a much nicer square when you sew the base. So to do that, you fold up a side, just like that. I did it one side at a time, but I'm showing you the whole process together. And you're simply sewing it just like that, as close as you can. I think I did about 1/8 of an inch seam, and you're back stitching. You're back stitching, sewing, and then back stitching. You do not need to be an expert sewer, and you do not need anything special. I did it using a very basic beginner sewing machine from Brother. And you can see I'm doing it one side at a time, and then back stitching a few, and then sewing, and you want as small a seam as possible. Again, for larger baskets, you'll be able to get away with more of a seam, but for small baskets, you want that very small seam. Go ahead, sew 4 sides. I did not do a continuous sew. As you can see, I sewed each side individually. So there you have it. You can see that the basket is really coming to life. It's coming to shape. Now you're going to sew each corner together on its own. So there you go. You can see I did the first one. And then go ahead and do the next 3. Sewing one at a time and not continuously. Again, this really wasn't perfect. If you know my style of sewing, I simply do. There's a reason why I don't typically sew garments, because it requires precision. Any sewing project that I'm going to show you is going to be one that does not require precision. So this is among those that do not require precision. Go ahead and sew it. Don't do it super messy. Don't get me wrong. You don't want to do it super messy, but it does not have to be super precise. So just a reminder, I used a very basic beginner sewing machine for this. You can use anything. You can hand stitch it with a blanket stitch. It would look gorgeous, and embroidery thread if you have the patience for that. You can hot glue it along the seams that I'm showing you. And there is your basket base. Cut out the template handles, but again, you can use ribbon for this, and just glue it on just like that so that the glue is on the same side of the handle. I first glued it down on one side and then turned it and then glued the second side. The glue pen from Shore Bonder comes in really handy here, you know, to get into that little space. But again, you can sew on the handles as well by hand or by machine. I just found it much easier to glue it on just because of the dynamic of a small basket like this. It's quite easy to skip over the description of a video like this, but really you should hit it up because I have a link to all the supplies, including this glue pen and the templates as well. You definitely want the templates for this. And of course, comment if you have any questions. Like this video so more people can see it, and that allows me to create more content like this as well. And hit the subscribe button because, again, that allows me to bring you more fun, enjoyable, and doable crafts like this one.